Today's lesson is going to be on a flat brush and ways of using the flat brush. So I'm going to show you several different ways of holding and using the brush to create different marks. So first of all, we'll just lay it down straight on the flat and just drag it across. Keep in mind I am working on a piece of paper rather than canvas, and paper tends to draw the moisture off of your brush much faster than a canvas would. But you can see the size of the mark that I'm making by using just the simple flat of that brush. Now, if I turn the brush the other way and I drag it across this way, you can see I make a much larger or a much smaller stroke. But if I were to try to make a smaller stroke, I would want to hold the handle towards the ceiling and just touch the chisel tip to the paper or your canvas. And then that way you can create a much thinner line. Also notice that if I start out here, I can turn my hand and create a mark that moves in different directions. So, keeping that in mind, then let's set the brush down and twist it and lift off. And now you can see I have what would be somewhat like a leaf. The trick with a flat brush is to simply use the biggest brush you can for the area in which you're working. So if I was trying to cover this entire piece, this brush would be much too small. Acrylics dry fast enough that you want to be able to use the biggest brush you can for the area. So I can get a nice crisp edge on the side where I lay the chisel down, especially on this brand new brush. And where I'm dragging it, I'm always going to have a little bit of a rough edge, which you can use to your advantage, or you could come back in and just go over that little tiny edge, just a smidgen. Let me get some fresh paint. And create smooth edges all the way around. Now this time I'm just turning it in my hand. The handle is pointing towards the ceiling, and I'm just making a swirl mark with it. Nice circles can be created this way. So what I'm showing you here is you want to be able to move that brush to create various lines So now I have what might resemble a little bit of a mountain line. The trick is to always remember to follow one tip or the other. So this little point here would be the tip, which I could use just to create small marks. Or I could pay attention to where that line is going, just that tip, and then use it as filling in. So you could get, I don't know, something like, say, a torn paper edge or the edge of a mountain range or various things like that. Now the last thing I want to show you I'll show you how to use the brush to make your brush strokes look like they're going in different directions. Like if I do it this way, like we started out as, I simply moved the brush across the paper. You're going to have a nice long movement of the paint from left to right. If I cross-hatch, I have a completely different texture in the paint. So that's one of the things that you're going to want to try to play with to get different textures. So application of your paint is as important as how you're holding the brush to make your different strokes.